In this video, we're going to look at shot types, camera movements, and a few other ways of using your camera. As I said last time, film is a medium of sensation. You can make people feel different things by choosing what you show people and how you show it to them. To my taste, film works best when it's showing something, even better when it's suggesting something and leaves the fine details to your imagination. If you can access an audience's imagination, well, you're into something very special. If a film starts to tell you something, it's not so interesting. So this is the territory that we're working in. We want to find how to show things so that the audience relates to them really deeply. One of the most straightforward ways to use your camera is to choose different types of shot to tell your story. A shot is a film sequence photographed continuously by one camera. When you're out and about filming a film, a shot starts at the moment when you press record or say action, and stops at the moment when you press stop or say cut. It's these shots that, when put together, make up the film. One of the cornerstones of the language of filmmaking is shot types. Shot types are variations on how close in or far away the camera is from the subject, the person, the object or things that you're shooting. That which, as a filmmaker, you want to show your audience. As I said last time, you're totally native in film. You know so much about how it's made, how it feels, how it goes together. So take a few moments and just see if you can think of different types of shot. What are the names of the types of shot that might come to mind? Here are a few ones that I'm sure you'll know. Close-up. A close-up can show a character in reaction to things. It allows us to see closer than we would with our eyes. It really brings us in close to the character, or object, or thing. An extreme close-up is something you rarely see in life, in that it's extremely close up to something. It's a great way to really focus your audience's attention on something. An extreme close-up would be something like holding your eyes to your pen, like that. But in cinema, it's much clearer than in your eyes. A medium shot allows you to see your subject from about the waist or sternum up to just about above the head or the top of the head. This shot that you're watching right now is a medium shot. And when we chat with people face to face in the real world, our mind generally puts the shot we're looking at into a medium shot. We see from kind of waist up to the top of the head. So it feels really natural for us. There's something comfortable about it. There's a nice proportion of space in it. Most interview shots you see will be in a medium shot or a variation thereon. So when you're working later on in the project on interview technique, think about what kind of shots you're going to be using for interviews, and mediums are very, very useful for this. A long shot allows you to show your subject in their setting. It allows you to see the world around them, shows you where they are. An establishing shot sets the scene of where you are. Often in a sequence of shots, the establishing shot comes first, but I often think that's kind of a telling approach to cinema rather than showing. So if you show something to someone on film, it leaves a space for them to think and develop it in their imagination. But if you tell something on film, it tends to dictate what the viewer thinks, and you're not getting as deep inside them as you want to with the consciousness. You can do a lot with shot types. Imagine a story that starts with a close-up, then cuts to a long shot, then cuts back to an extreme close-up, then out to a medium, and finally to an establishing shot. Even by playing around with that, you start to build a sense of story just from the shot types alone. Personally, I'm a big fan of the static camera. I know it draws you into the space really nicely. It's like a human perspective, but it seems quite cinematic at the same time. But there are many, many more ways of working with the camera than just locking it off. Here are some camera movements that may be of use. Panning. A pan is a move from left to right or right to left. It's very useful for revealing a space. It's really useful for following a character around a space, but from a static point of view, or even opening up the space in some kind of way. Tilting. Tilting is when a camera tilts up or down from a static point again. Again, it's useful for revealing a space or showing something. There are shots called push-ins and pull-outs where the camera physically moves towards and away from the subject, and these give you loads of ways of exploring a story. Tracking is where your camera moves along with the action. You can do this in so many ways. Big films literally often lay down tracks and run their cameras all the way along it. You can also zoom in and out of a shot, and this is an optical movement inside the camera, moving the lenses back and forth. So it's not really camera movement, it's more actually a sort of lens operation. And this is really interesting to look at, and we all love playing with zooms, but play around with actually moving your camera closer to and further away from something and see how that affects it rather than going for a zoom first of all. Remember that film is about creating sensation in your audience. So think about how you can use the camera movements and camera shots to best communicate the sensations or best create the sensations that you want your audience to feel. So much of storytelling, whether that be a book, a film, or a play, is about power relationships. Who has the power in a certain situation, and how does that change from situation to situation and in situation? You can use the camera to explore these power relationships by all of the means that we've looked at before. But one of the best ways to use it is to look at camera angles, mixed with shot type, of course. So, who has the power in this shot here? This is shot from a high angle. How about now? Shot from a low angle. Obviously, I'm playing that for laughs, but there's something really interesting to be found here, though, especially in the change in power relationships when one character gets power over the other. As I said last time, be conscious of the backgrounds you choose for your shot. Shooting on a flat background can make things feel a bit enclosed and breathless, but it's also quite an effective way of saying, listen to me, I have something to say. An angled background gives greater depth to the shot and opens up the world on camera a bit more for the audience. This is all stepping towards looking at something called depth of field, which is about how deep your shot is. Shooting at different speeds can be really interesting and a playful way to work with film. Shooting on a mobile phone will give you the option to film in super slow motion, which opens up all sorts of interesting possibilities and techniques. Speeding up things in the edit can also be very useful for comic effect, and it can also be a really good way to solve different technical things if you're doing something difficult on camera. If you do it really slowly and then speed it up in the edit, it looks smart. And needless to say, playing things in reverse opens up a whole world of possibilities. Embedded in all of this is the instinct to cut. You can feel when the action you want to work with is done, when it's time to shout, cut. But when you're recording, make sure you don't cut too soon. Or when you're editing it, it's going to be really hard to work as you've cut off too soon and it doesn't bleed easily into the next clip or transition easily into the next clip. So think about leaving buffers at the start and end of the film that you're making so that it's easier to work with in the edit. A scale of performance on film may go from something like from 0, where there's nothing, through to 12, where there's absolute craziness. At school, most people perform about level 8, and that's because they need to be seen from the stage right to the back of the hall. So it's worth thinking about playing games around exercises about different performance level. I think some of the best film acting happens about level 3 or 4, but depending on the type of film, you can go up to about 6 or 7 or 8 and you get some nice things. But the more you go beyond that, the less space there is for the audience to believe what's going on, which may be what you want to do anyway. Now it's time for this video's exercise. This exercise comes from Into Film, who are one of the greatest resources for filmmaking information online and in person. I think their work is fantastic. So check out intofilm.org to see what all they do. Their resource pages are full of the finest filmmaking goodies. I would like you to make me a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 film. Make me a film comprising of 5 shots with a maximum of 4 people on your crew, whether that be 3 people in front of the camera, 1 person behind, or a bit of mixture bits and bobs, with 3 possibly random props that lasts up to no more than 2 minutes, and it's called The Secret. You can have the props talking on screen, like toys, or more interestingly, you can use them with an actor there on screen. That's an introduction to shot types, camera angles, camera movement, and shot speeds. There's so much more to say about this. And there's also lots of fun that can be achieved by just playing around with whip pans and things like that. Camera movement can also be totally subtle and brilliant in how you open up a space for the viewer. So much of this is based around instinct. It's instinctual work. So go out and just play and have fun with it. And just, enjoy yourself. Find out what works and what doesn't by playing. In the next video, we'll be looking at how we pull films together through editing. Siadaf maha. Right, away off and have fun. Enjoy yourself. We'll see you for the next video.